Yo, what's going on? I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I don't know why they changed the music on that. That music was weird as hell. That music was awkward. Anyway, I'm Marcus here. We do attorney reactions to current events and trending news. Hey, I got a hard cutoff time here, so we're gonna dive right on in. Hey, as always, I invite you to like, share, subscribe, comment, licensed attorney, not legal advice, opinions on current takes and topics. Find an attorney in your local area if you need one. All of that good stuff out of the way. All right, now this video is going to be interesting because some time ago, a few months ago, we went through the subpoena that was issued uh, for the village of Dolton, and it had a lot of people on there. It had Tiffany Henyard and her CARES Foundation, some information related to that. It had Keith Freeman. It had a lot of melanated people on there. But when you look through that indictment, it reminded me of an old saying that my father told me when I first started practicing law, and I was I know I got the mature, studious, not dressed up, but kind of relaxed look on today. What's going on? I appreciate you for tuning in. But it reminded me of something that my father told me when I started doing criminal defense work. He said, anytime you see a bunch of black folks doing some tomfoolery, making money, and it's illegal, somewhere in the background is probably a Caucasian man who making a lot more money. So when he said that, I was like, that resonated with me when I was thinking about this story when someone sent it to me. I was like, okay, we know who the Keith Freemans are and Tiffany Henyard and Kamal Woods, and we know all these guys in their little sideshow. But what is going on with the guy named in the indictment that I seen very few people talk about? And this person is an interesting person. He actually may be, I don't know. I don't know. He may be the most corrupt ally that Tiffany Henyard has, but there's a long record there. We're gonna go ahead into it. This is a rare video today where there are not a lot of videos, but we're gonna kind of dive into some articles. So let me go ahead and pull it up. Today we are going to be talking about Alex Nitchoff. Now, I know y'all probably like, who the hell is Alex Nitchoff? This doesn't ring a bell. It doesn't sound like the same names we used to hear when we talk about this tomfoolery. What's going on, Mom for Life? I appreciate you tuning in. So we're going to talk about Alex Nitchoff, what his role was early on in Tiffany Henyard's political career, what allegations and or convictions surround him, and then I'm gonna let y'all be the judge. When we look at the corruption scale amongst the bubble of people, the circle of people, the inner circle of Tiffany Henyard, I'm gonna let y'all make that evaluation whether this gentleman ranks near the top or near the bottom. So let me go ahead and man, I'm all jacked up. I don't even got the I don't even got the now I don't know if I should just leave it like that. If y'all ain't trying to read that. Y'all want me just you know what? I don't know. Y'all want me to have it like that just in case somebody wants something and they want to try to read it. All right. Alex Nitchoff is a longtime fixture in Dolton, having owned and operated Olivia's Restaurant, a well-known diner in town that has since turned over to new ownership. They are also absentee landowners, and this article was published in the Chicago Sun-Times. A Chicago Sun-Times investigation showed that Nitchoff's attempt to evade several $100,000 in unpaid property taxes on Dolton property by letting their taxes become delinquent and then rebuying the property through shell companies for a fraction of the debt through Cook County scavenger or tax sales. All the while, Nitchoff businesses were active in Dolton political affairs, contributing more than $8,600 over 7 years to former Mayor Riley Rogers. That's not a lot of money. In February of 2022, they contributed $2,000 to Henyard's campaign and another $5,000 4 months later. The latter contribution occurred days after his construction company, Oak, first billed the village for no bid, no contract residential construction at several dozen homes that totaled $205,000 money that the village paid out of federal COVID-19 grant money. Hey, hey, I don't know. That's not looking good. Funds was wasted. Doge out there on the mission. I, Having never authorized the work, the Dolton Village Board initially refused to pay the bills. Oak responded by sending letters to senior homeowners threatening to put liens against their homes. I'm really confused right now, resident Rose Rice wrote in the email to village officials. First of all, I didn't sign any papers or any agreements with the company. So why is this lien against my property? And why is my name on this document? This is asinine. All right. Oak's construction manager apologized during a December 2022 village board meeting and said that the letter should have been mailed to the mayor and the village board instead. He said he was seeking payment for the work that we have completed for the homeowners. At the same meeting, village trustees, a majority of whom opposed Henyard, criticized the process and asked Henyard how she picked the contractor. Henyard replied, "If you don't get a bid, you get contractors who donate to her campaign." No, it says, excuse me. If you don't get a bid, you get contractors who donate to her campaign fund, said then village trustee Edward Steve. That's reality because the mayor should not have all the power to pick contractors, pick who she wants, and then she goes to them for campaign donations. Henyard said she announced at an earlier board meeting that they needed contractors to do the work, and Oak signed up. I don't go pick people, Henyard said. People come to the village, they apply, they want to do it, they do the work. I could care less who does it as long as the residents get service. Because of the cost of each job did not exceed $5,000, Henyard said the village was not required to seek other proposals to comply with the requirements of federal grant money the village used to pay for the project. I'm asking again for the board to make them whole, pay them what was owed to them so they can complete the process, Henyard said. After the village trustee, Jason House, asked for a copy of Oak's contract and his customers, Henyard made it clear that none existed. For the record, there is no contract. No one has a contract. Uh, let's see. Okay, so hold on. Is a Okay. Now, okay, we're talking about Alex Nitchoff. Let's pivot real quick because Nitchoff, his family is they have historical roots going throughout this area. And then Dalton Nitchoff's late father, Boris, was implicated in a federal corruption case against Austin, the former alderperson, after he allegedly provided her with sump pumps and kitchen cabinets in her home as he sought business from the city of Chicago. Records show that the village of Dolton paid Oak Construction $14,500 to build a fence around a property that later became a publicly owned ice rink used for one of Henyard's campaign event without her campaign paying for it in an apparent violation of state election law. Freeman, the village manager, said at the December 2022 trustee meeting that the critics were ignorant of the federal grant reporting rules and accused them of gaslighting. All right. Later on, they were indicted, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So let's talk about this gentleman, Alex Nitchoff, because to get a good understanding of who somebody is, you always want to kind of take a look at their record. And I tell y'all all the time, if you want to find fraud in the government, just go directly to the contracts. Don't look at nobody time. Don't look at employees. That's a drop in the bucket. Contracts are where all the money is, and no bid contract. I've seen government agencies who's the head of the agency. Their last name would be like, let's say their last name is McDermott, right? Agency head McDermott gives a no bid contract to another person with the last name McDermott, but because it meets the qualifications for the no bid contract, they just give it to somebody. It's their cousin, it's their brother. The company that gets the contract literally was just created like 3 weeks ago. Like somebody literally creates an LLC and say, hey, we do this type of work. Give me a couple of no bid contracts. The contract value is so low, they don't have to get all these proposals and solicit these proposals. They give it to their cousin who got the same name. The work either gets done half-assed, or an alternative, they overpay for the actual work that's done. And somewhere along the line, there's probably a kickback in there. Let me see. Let me go to some of the comments real quick. Oh, really? See, interesting. See how the web always finds its way. She was a waitress there. That's interesting. That's interesting. So I keep telling people they better stop sleeping on you. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So let's take a look at what Alex Nitchoff's uh, indictment slash information was about. He got convicted on federal bribery charges. Let's take a look at what he was doing. He also had another scheme. Hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. It was a lot in this article, so I didn't want to read the whole thing. It was all right. Family owned business. His father once engaged in a scheme to attempt to clear hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid taxes from property the family owned in the village. It was another. It was another scheme in here that I saw, and I was like, unpaid property taxes. I don't know. I can't find it. Anyway, let's go ahead and pull up this information. I'm gonna tell you all what the difference between an indictment and an information is, just so you know. They both do essentially the same damn thing. Um, I don't know if one is necessarily better than the other, but let's go ahead and pull up his court document. All right, we got his court document up here. Let's zoom that in because you know I can't see. We're gonna zoom that in. All right. So this is the information filed against Alex Nitchoff. This was in 2023. He subsequently pled guilty to bribery charges in 2024. He was an early supporter of Tiffany Henyard. Now, information in an indictment. The essentially an indictment is the prosecutors essentially get all of these facts. They have witnesses come before a grand jury. A grand jury is 12 people in most places. A grand jury is convened, 12 people. And a grand jury, I know here they impanel for like a month. And they go every Wednesday or whatever day it is. And the prosecutor just bring cases in front of the grand jury. And they have people go on the stand, tell the evidence. And the grand jury hears the evidence. And after the grand jury hears the evidence, if the grand jury feels that there's enough information to charge this person with a crime, they return a true bill, and that indictment is done. The Fed's going to go out, or the police are going to go out and arrest the person because the grand jury came back with a true bill. If there's not enough facts presented to the grand jury come back with no bill. So indictment goes to the grand jury to make a decision. And information is a little bit different because an information is a breakdown of facts, normally from an officer, a detective, a special agent. Normally, it's from somebody in law enforcement, and they essentially lay out the facts to a judge. Normally, it's a magistrate judge, but they'll lay out the facts to the judge. And after the judge hears the facts, the judge is the person who makes the determination if there's sufficient information to make sure that this information against the purported defendant is valid. So, indictment, the grand jury makes a determination that there's enough facts there, and information, the judge makes a determination that there's enough facts there to move forward and charge this person with a crime. That's why this one is written a little bit differently than the normal indictments that we read on this channel. All right. So the acting United States Attorney's charges at times material to this information. Cook County was a local government located in the Northern District of Illinois that received more than 10,000 in federal benefits in each calendar year, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Individual A was a real estate developer and owned several real estate companies. Defendant Alex Nitchoff, who was the relative of Individual A, owned a construction company and was involved in the operation of Individual A's company. The companies owned and operated by Nitchoff and Individual A in turn owned real estate located in Cook County. hereinafter the Nitchoff family properties. Individual B was an employee of Nitchoff's construction company. Individual B also owned several parcels of real estate within Cook County. Individual B's property. All right, the Cook County Assessor's Office, CCAO, hereinafter, was a Cook County government office responsible for setting fair and accurate values for real estate within Cook County. As soon as I heard the assessor's office, I was like, yeah, somebody about to be finessing. All right. The administrator, to administer this task, the Cook County administrator reassessed 1/3 of the properties located in the county each year. The assessed property values were used to calculate property taxes, with lower taxes resulting from lower property value assessments and higher taxes resulting from higher property value. A taxpayer could challenge an assessment made by the assessor's office by, amongst other things, filing an appeal with the assessor's office seeking to reduce the assessed value. Ladvin Mimsovsky was employed by the Cook County's administrator's office as a commercial group leader and was an agent in Cook County and the Cook County administrator's office. As a commercial group leader, Mimsovsky assessed property values for Cook County commercial properties and reviewed property tax appeals for commercial properties. Family member one, a relative Mimsovsky, family member one owned and operated and engaged in the electrical contracting business. So there are a lot of players here. Okay, we got Nitchoff, who has his family member one, a family member A, then he has his employee person B, all of which they all own property in Dolton. Now we got Mimsovsky, who is an employee at the Cook County Assessor's Office, and he has family member one who has an electrical contracting business. Beginning in or around 2016 and continuing through June 2019 at Chicago in the Northern District of Illinois, Alex Nitchoff, the defendant, did conspire with individual A and B, his family member and his employee, and other persons known and unknown to the grand jury to corruptly give, offer, and agree to give things of value, namely home improvement materials, home improvement services, contract for electrical work, jewelry, meals, sporting events, tickets, and other items for the benefit of Mimsovsky, intending that Mimsovsky, an agent at Cook County, be influenced and rewarded in connection with any business transactions and series of transactions of Cook County involving things of value of $5,000 or more, namely the reduction in asset value property located in Cook County and violation of Title 18 United States Code, Section 666. This is one of the same things. I don't know if you all remember this, but during President Trump's first term in office, they were essentially going after him for like anything, like, oh, whatever they could find, they was just going, shoot that round off. One of the things that he was accused of was having property assessors in New York assess the value of his property very low, so he would have a lower tax obligation. But when he wanted to borrow against those properties, he would have the assessor assess those properties high, so he would be able to borrow more money. This is the exact I know, I do it all the time. I can't help it. I do it all the time. It is what it is. I see it, I read it, I appreciate it. Don't worry about it. It's all good. But it's a common scheme to have the value of property increased or decrease for purposes that will be monetarily beneficial. But in this scenario, what we saw during Trump's first term, it was, hey, we're going to decrease it for property tax value, so I pay lower property taxes. But if I go to the bank to get a loan against this property, I want the value to be pushed up so I can borrow more money. That's kind of how that goes. All right, let's go ahead and jump back into this information and get through it. All right. It was manner and means of the conspiracy. It was part of the conspiracy that, for the purpose of corruptly influencing and rewarding Mimsovsky in connection with his assessment of property values and his review of property tax appeals concerning Nitchoff family properties, individual B properties, and other properties. Nitchoff and others agreed to provide private benefits to Memnovsky and to family member one. So everybody who owned property is giving Memnovsky all the shit he want: money, tickets, fixing his house, doing all of these things, and his family member who owns the electrical construction company, because Memsovsky works at the assessor's office and he's the person who can determine the value of property. It was further part of the conspiracy that Nitchoff, Individual A, and Individual B, and others arranged for companies to provide home improvement services and home improvement materials to Memsovsky and others, and did not require Memsovsky and others to pay for these services and materials. It was further part of the conspiracy that Nitchoff, Individual A, and Individual B, and others provided jewelry, meals, and sport. I want to know what the total is. Jewelry, meals, sporting events. It was further alleged Nitchoff and Individual A provided Individual A and Individual B and other caused work to be awarded to family member one's company and caused family member one and family member one's company to be paid for this work. So they paid Memsov, I can't even remember his damn name. Memsovic name was so damn crazy. They paid Memsovic directly, but they also paid his family member in the forms of cash or putting work to his company so that he can receive compensation. It was further part of the conspiracy in return for benefits provided to him and family member one. Memsovsky took official action to benefit Nitchoff, Individual A, Individual B, and others, including but not limited to ensuring that the appeals of the property assessments were routed to Memsovsky within the assessor's office, extending the deadline for filing the appeals, and reducing assessed property values. So they actually had the whole game kind of finessed. Hey, you appraised that property. You made it too damn high. I don't want it this high because I want my property taxes low. So they pay him off because he's working at the assessor's office. When they pay him off, he can make sure the assessments that were done were routed to him so he can control them and manipulate them. Extend the deadline so they had more time to file their appeals of the highest assessment that he originally gave and reduce the value of the assessment. So it was actually not relatively complex, but it's very rare. This is odd because it's very rare for one person within an organization to be able to control all of those facets, do those three things with no edits in place. Normally, if you got the assessor assessing property value, it's normally someone else who may be in charge of. Because think about it. If I'm assessing the property value, wouldn't it be crazy if the appeals for my decision come to me? That don't even make any damn sense. That don't even make it's not objective. It's not impartial. I make an assessment and I hear the appeals. Normally, you would bifurcate that out and give it to someone else. Then it makes a scheme like this a little bit more difficult. You can still do it, but you have to spread more money to more persons. And the more persons involved in the scheme, the more likely that you're going to get caught. There was only one person in this one, and his ass got caught. All right. It was further part of the conspiracy that Nitchoff and his co-conspirators misrepresented, concealed, and hid, and caused to be misrepresented, concealed, and hidden, and attempted to misrepresent acts done in furtherance of this conspiracy. Overt acts. Nitchoff and his co-conspirators committed and caused overt acts within the Northern District of Illinois and elsewhere in the furtherance, blah, blah, blah. On or about May 26, 2017, Memsovsky placed Memsovsky placed a call to Nitchoff during which they discussed the construction of a shed at Memsovsky's residence. On or about July 14, 2017, Nitchoff caused a check to be made in the amount of approximately $1,900 payable to the order of family members one's company. That's Memsovsky's boy, his family member. On or about July 31st, 2017, Nitchoff placed a call to individual B, during which call Nitchoff gave individual B instructions concerning the construction of the shed at Memsovsky's residence. I say his name different every time I read it. On or about August 18, 2017, Nitchoff placed a call to Mimosovsky, during which call Nitchoff told Mimosovsky that Nitchoff would send a worker to install gutters at Mimosovsky's house. On May of 2018, he gave Mimosovsky a check made payable to family member one. Why don't I say the amount? On December 21st, 2018, individual B placed a call to Mimosovsky and explained that a worker would be arriving at his house to work on drywall. May 23rd, 2019, let's see. Mimosovsky used Nitchoff's Florida house and asked if Mimosovsky if he had other house projects that needed to be worked on, and Nitchoff was going to owe you. All of this stuff is invalidated. Count two. Let's see. This is interesting. All right, count two. This is interesting. The acting United States attorney further charges that on or about December 31st, 2017, the Northern District of Illinois, Eastern District, and elsewhere, Alex Nitchoff, defendant, used a facility in interstate commerce, namely a cellular telephone assigned to telephone number 5110, with the intent to promote, manage, establish, carry on, and facilitate the promotion, management, establishment, and carrying on of an unlawful activity in violation of a bribery statute. And thereafter, the defendant did perform and did cause to be performed and attempt to be performed, blah, 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 said unlawful activity. Violation of Title 18. What's that? Wire. Count three. Let's see what count three is. Same thing, interstate commerce. Anytime you use electronic wired communication in the furtherance of a fraud scheme, you're probably going to be charged with wire fraud. And it's every instance. So if I'm continuously making calls to you on February 18th, 19th, 20, 21, I'm making calls every day, texting you back and forth in the furtherance of this scheme. That's not one wire fraud charge. What I would do is charge you with wire fraud for each communication that was used. That's normally what's done. So those are the charges related to Alex Nitchoff. Now, I brought that up because it was interesting when we went through the and there's a couple other people listed on that subpoena who I was like, I want to take a look at them. But when we went through the subpoena, I was like, hey, y'all, I'm sorry, I did a little reverse. I did a little DEI content creation because I was like, it's just so easy to talk about all the tomfoolery that goes on with the colored folks involved in all this, because that's what you always see on the news. So the Kamal Woods, if we look through I'm looking at the subpoena, Henyard's nonprofit, Kamal Woods, Keith Freeman, Jerry Genova, former Calumet City Mayor, Jose Oldaco, a businessman from Benningsonville, who billed the township $17,000 for 1,000 t-shirts and sweatshirts. That's not that bad. And of course, Alex Nitchoff, who appeared to have billed the most amount of money of everybody named in this indictment. The total amount that he billed for his no bid, no contract was $205,000, which the village paid out of COVID-19 funds. This is going to be interesting. This is interesting. Is COVID-19 fraud? Yeah, that's COVID-19 fraud. So one, Joe Biden extended the statute of limitations to investigate COVID-19 fraud. So that transaction that Tiffany Henyard was a part of, giving out that no bid contract, presumably that could be held over her head and potentially indicted for another. Pandemic funds came out in 2020. I mean, you're talking about what? Another 4 or 5 years and some change. So that's one. It has an extended statute of limitation thanks to our former president, Joe Biden. Number two, if they proceed with the pandemic relief charge against Tiffany Henyard, probably conspiracy or something to that effect because it was a no bid. It looked kind of shady. It would probably be investigated by the inspector general. I don't know if the inspector general for it's called the SIGPER, the Special Inspector General for Pandemic Relief. I don't know if that inspector general was one of the 14 who President Trump fired 2 weeks ago during Black Friday. They called it Black Friday, Bloody Friday, whatever it was called. They fired a bunch of damn inspector generals. But that's how that investigation would come into fruition. It would go to the Special Inspector General for Pandemic Relief. They would be the ones who investigate it. And they probably got another 5.5 years where they can actually bring those charges and those allegations up. But I thought it was interesting because as someone sent me that article and I looked through it and I was like, man, I gotta stop being DEI and talk about these talking about the Negroes who are doing something wrong associated with the tomfoolery and pivot because there's other parties involved. And I thought it would be entertaining and beneficial to kind of touch bases and see what those other folks were up to. Yo, I got to get ready to jump off here because your boy Todd. Check out a story I did. I don't know if you all seen it. I wanted to talk about it live, but I don't know. I don't really replay. Live streams are for the live audience, right? So the replay guys get upset. So I'll do a story and I'll put a story on the thumbnail and the title about Tiffany Henyard. But sometimes if it's not a lot, y'all know I'll maybe talk about 2 or 3 smaller stories, smaller segments before we go into the big story. Everybody in the live stream be cool with it. Everybody on the replay be like, man, stop using, get to the Tiffany Henyard stuff. I'm like, bro, you missed the live stream. You missed what the entire thing was a part of. But what are your thoughts, real quick, before I get out of here? I'm actually going to pull it up. On the Delta plane crash where the plane flipped over. I actually posted a video. I wanted to talk about it live, but 80 persons were in the plane. And I don't know if y'all go check out the video. Long story short, 80 persons were in the plane. I think only 2 people are currently still in the hospital. Those people are screwed up. When you on a plane, something that traumatizing that flip over, man, you're gonna have physical issues. You're gonna have issues going on planes. You're probably gonna have issues being in crowded spaces. A lot of people are gonna have some post-traumatic stress disorder from that. Delta paid all 80 passengers on the plane $30,000. And I don't know if this is true, but this is what the media is saying. The media is saying that Delta paid $30,000 just because. It wasn't no clause in there waiving their right to sue or anything. I can't believe that. I'm sorry. I don't believe that. I don't know. I don't know why a company would just randomly give $30,000 for no reason and not make them sign maybe a non-disclosure or waive their rights to litigation. But they're asserting that they just gave it to them out of the kindness of their heart. I don't know. If I was advising Delta, I would think I think that's a really, really stupid move because it's given guilty. It's given guilty. If I didn't do anything, I'm like, hey, I feel sorry for y'all. I hope everything work out. Maybe we can start a fund to help with some of the medical bills. But giving cash is giving guilty vibes. I definitely wouldn't do that because there are going to be a shitload of lawsuits. 80 people were involved in it. I could probably bet that there are going to be 80 lawsuits that are going to be involved in that Delta plane crash. But I just can't understand why a company would give 2 point some odd million dollars to everybody who was on board the plane just cause and not do it without any waiver of their rights to sue or assert any claims against Delta. Like, I don't know. I would fire my general counsel if it were unilaterally up to me. But y'all go ahead and check out that video. I'm about to jump off here. It was a short one. I might jump on tomorrow and do something if I can get back early enough. Y'all have a good evening. Be safe. Hold on. Let me see. Hey, shout. Hey, now is not the time to be laying people off at the Federal Aviation. What is the the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, just for optics. There are probably people at the FAA who don't do anything. There are probably people there who Every place got jobs. Every place got some people who work there who don't hold their weight. Okay, that everybody do that. Like hell is inevitable. You can't avoid it. But yeah, now is not the just for optics sake because of all the things going on with air traffic control and helicopters and planes. You should not be landing anyone off from the FAA. No, and in that video, I talked about it, but there's a way. Even if they had in the video, I explained it. But even if Delta included language that made those people waive their right to sue, they could probably get out of. They could probably keep that $30,000 or get out of that contract and still preserve their right to sue because the argument is going to be that the contract was unfair, like undue influence. Undue influence, real quick, undue influence is a defense where a person can get out of a contract if the balance and power to creating the contract was imbalanced. So, why is it imbalanced? Delta have their attorney, they have unlimited resources, they got billions of dollars in their coffers where they can cut this check, and they had time to think about strategically what they were going to do. This is assuming that the agreement is in there where they're waiving their rights to sue. Let's say that agreement is in there. Delta is in the advantageous position related to the contract. Even if someone takes the $30,000 and sign that and they waive their rights, if that provision is in there, the courts will probably find that contract null and void because of undue influence. Well, if Delta was in a strong position, how are the people on the plane in the weaker, lessened position? Well, they aren't attorneys. It was probably written in legalese that a layperson would have to read 15 times to understand. They were just in a traumatic event. They may have not had their physical, let alone mental faculties to be able to understand the nature of what they were signing. They were under financial hardship because some people sustained injuries. They didn't have to go to work, or they couldn't go to work, so they had a loss of income. So they took that $30,000 just so they could be able to provide for their family. So even if language is in that payout saying you can't sue, those persons will probably be able to keep that money, but definitely get out of that contract because of undue influence. Let's see. Yeah, but I agree. It's now not the time to be laying people up. I literally hear people. I had a conversation today at work where people was talking about going on a trip, and they were like, "Nah, I don't know if I really want to get on any planes right now." I seen two stories. One story said Delta was just giving it just because, but I seen another story where they said there were a lot of fine print there, and that kind of gives me a cause of pause. 'Cause I don't know. I can't see any reason why you would give out money without attaching some condition to it. Like if Delta did that just to do it, they may be one of the morally best companies on the planet next to Costco. I don't know. Hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I know I got a subject matter expert with some inside knowledge of Delta, so maybe I could find out if it was just a gift. I think they gave those folks lodging and they gave them a whole bunch of stuff. But if they gave everybody $30,000, 80 people, that's like 2 point some odd $1 million. Hey, shout out to them for being a respectable company, but it's no way. Honestly, I would actually fire my general counsel. If my general counsel said, "Hey, Eureka, I got a great idea. I know those people were just involved in the accident. I know this. But let's just give them all $30,000, but don't ask for anything in return." I'd be like, "You're fired immediately. Get your shit. Get your shit, and you need to get out. I don't want to hear all that moral stuff. Your job is to look out for my best interest, and that is not doing it." I know it sounds cold, but that's what it needs to be. Because if you look in the video, I played two videos where Delta is saying that there was no crosswinds. The pilot and the staff were perfectly trained. It was just an act. It was just a freak act of God. There were crosswinds, but it wasn't anything that rose to a level that would cause complications with the landing. But then there's another video by a retired military pilot who was like, no, they did this completely wrong. It was user error. The pilot should have identified that the conditions weren't good. He had enough fuel. He should have circled the airport and tried to make the landing again instead of forcing the landing. So the arguments are going to be there on both sides. But at the end of the day, $30,000, them people, they about to get paid. Those people are about to get broke off. And if they need an attorney, come holler at your boy. Yo, I'm out. I'll holler at y'all. I appreciate y'all tuning in for this short one. It was a short one. We might do something tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Be blessed. Peace.